Hi, I'm Kirsty. And this is my husband Julian. We're both parents to this little fur baby, Indy. And we've also, luckily, got a little man here called Rory who loves the water.
We are sea lovers who love projects. We sold our 37-foot easy catamaran to help pay for house renovations before our little man arrived, and have since been in search of a new project. 6 months ago we finally found our new boatie. Exactly how we wanted it, within reason, with changes to make, things to fix.
So we've gone for a generous size duckboard on the back of the boat. I've a pet hater little pokey duckboards. So to achieve this, we've started off with 2 sheets of foam that we've glued together and bent around the shape of the transom, hence why this duckboard's curved. Let that dry, and then we've glassed both sides, making a pretty stiff structure. Next step is we'll get it trimmed to size. Because it's made out of foam, we will core out, so basically between the glass sheets, dig out the foam and backfill full of glue. The foam's going to remain soft, so we're going to finish the edge and make that tough somehow. So we'll dig the foam out, say about 10 odd mil, and fill in between the glass sheets with glue. And then in the meantime, as I said, it's evolving. We'll start thinking about how we're going to do the hinges and have the duckboard pull up and down, and do the struts to hold the duckboard in place when it is down. So the foam's 2 different colours, no real reason for that. We've got 80 density foam, so the density refers to the crushing strength of the foam. So 40 density would be really soft and you'd be able to push your finger into. 80 density is a relatively dense foam, so it's got a fair bit of structure to it and compressive strength. So you got first sheet of foam, glue, second sheet of foam, and we've got glass either side. As far as glassing, we've used what we call a triaxial. Triaxial means that the glass fibres run 3 ways. We've got 45 and 45, which we call a double bias. So we've got glass fibres running that direction, glass fibres running this direction, and triaxial, so the third fibre in this cloth is running this way at what we'd either call 0 or 90. We've done 2 layers of that both sides. We've run the unis in different directions. So if we call this arrow 0 and this arrow 90, the first layer of glass, we've got the unis running at 90, and the second layer of glass, we've got the unis running at 0. We alternate them to try and get stiffness in this panel. Okay, a little update of the duckboard. So on the stern of the boat we've created this little recess here. Duckboard sits in against the stern and will sit flush with this surface. We'll show that later on when we fit the duckboard.
So we're not we're working on the boat this weekend. This weekend we are actually competitively racing in the Sharpie fleet. So it's a 3-man boat, single trapeze. There's only 4 of us entered, so yeah, go out, give it a go. Forecast is, I haven't even looked, have you? Oh, about 10, 12 knots I think was last time I looked, so yeah, we'll go out, give it a go. Jules' uncle's bought a new boat, so we'll go out and see how we line up and hopefully have a good day. The boat will get touched, but this weekend I think we're just gonna...
And then we're going to get time to work on the boat.
Not this weekend, that's for sure. So
yeah, boat gets left alone this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm happy the sun's coming out. Might get a bit of a tan on. Right, so just seeing what we've been up to here, we have pulled the front windows out of the boat. Now, main reason for the front windows being pulled out, they had big screws. Let's see if we can find an example. An example on the inside here. Screws sticking through, holding the windows in, which were attached to the wooden trims that went around the windows. We are losing the wooden trims, so what we've done is pulled the windows out, upsized. Instead of screws going in here, we're going to go in with a coarse threaded stainless bolt. There's still enough meat left in this fiberglass. We'll see how thick the fiberglass is here. So we've tapped through these holes, and we are planning on using these little threads. So the idea is that, I can't see because the sun's pretty bad here. Let's try down there. The thread is shorter than the thickness of the cabin top. Window will go in. Now the thread will go in. Window will go in with the sealant, thread will go in, and on the underside here we will see no bolt protruding through, which will just make it really easy for when we finally get the interior lining through, so there'll be no bolts sticking through to have to cut off or deal with. Only tapping in the fiberglass, you've got to be very careful how tight you do these bolts up, as it will be really easy to strip the thread that's being tapped in the fiberglass and the bolt won't hold. Now there are a few odd side screws holding this window in, and what we have done to combat this is we've brought myself some helicoils, which means that we can drill we've got 2 in this window here, 1 in there, 1 in there. Now these holes were too big to be able to get a tap in and have this thread work. The hole was too big, so we've upsized the tap, put in a helicoil, which in return will take, oh there we go, this thread. So that's my way around getting the same fastening all the way around the window to hold the windows in. While the windows were out, the cabin, let's go down here. The cabin hasn't been cut or polished for a long time. If I rub my hand on this surface, you'll see my hand's white. The gel coat's going all chalky and horrible. So I've taken the opportunity while the windows were out to use some sandpaper, give this gel coat a really good sand, sanded back to a 600 grit sandpaper, and then used a cutting compound and a big polisher sander and buffing pad. Let's see if we can see the shine I put on there and buff this surface up to a shine.
Done that because the window's out, sander sits flat, don't have to worry about going around the window edges, knocking the anodizing around on the window. And eventually this whole boat will have to get cut and polished, but we'll just do it in little stages like this. Make life all very much easier. Right, so we're going to pull out some more windows. So the third time I've done this because I keep losing the videos on my phone. These windows originally had this wooden trim, which hid all these screws, if you can see them down there, that are sticking out and holding the window in. So what we are hoping to do is get rid of these screws, tap into this fiberglass and put a metal thread in and have it finish flush. You can see here they've had issues before with this window leaking and stripping the screws, so they've put a few bolts in. What we're doing by upsizing to the next size up in diameter with a metal thread allows us to tap straight through this fiberglass. Where these holes have already been drilled out bigger, it's going to create issues. So to combat that, we've brought ourselves some what we call helicoils, and basically, what's the best way to describe these little babies? It's like a threaded nut or insert, which means we can go next hole size up, have a special little tool. These guys thread in, and that way it means we can keep all our bolt or metal threads the same size. The issue we've got with these windows, if we went the next thread size up, we'll show you on the outside. If we just duck out here to a window we've done already, we've got the next thread size up, so these heads are only just fitting into the countersink. They're probably just a little bit raised. It still looks tidy, but acceptable, I think. If we went the next size up again, you see side on, means that the head of the thread's going to be bigger and going to stick out proud from this surface, and it's going to be aesthetically unpleasing to the eye. Yeah, it's just not going to look that great. Okay, so here's our window. You can see all the old sealant. This one was Sikaflexed on. The other front window was siliconed on. Now, as far as cleaning up all this old sealant, I'd say you want 95% of it all cleaned up and gone before resealing the window. Is there any quick, easy method? No. We don't want to be damaging the anodizing on this aluminium window frame. The anodizing, well, protects the aluminium, helps from corrosion. If we start hopping into this and damaging the anodizing, any salt water that gets in underneath our sealant will start to corrode the aluminium. I said there's no easy way. I like to use, here we've got a bit of hardwood, bit of oak. The timber won't damage the aluminium frame, but being a hardwood, it holds a pretty good edge for a little while. So as far as cleaning out all these little grooves that are in here, I quite like to use, as I said, a little hardwood wedge. And then after that, it's just patience and time. Here we've got our essentials for pulling the windows out. Impact driver. We have a Phillips in there, just because I'm lazy and don't want to unscrew all these fastenings by hand. Hammer, wooden wedges,
You'll see where they come in really handy later on. And Stanley knife with a long blade. Maybe you'd understand. About what love and what I must do. When she says she loves me.
Jules has been really busy this past week, really putting a big effort with our windows. As you probably see with some of his videos, he's really sort of been pulling out a lot of our main saloon area windows because of the way that they were initially installed. With the new lining that we're going to be putting in, we've really had to look to remove the windows, give them a clean up and reseal them because it was evident that they were leaking. So I've just come down with Rory to have a look and see how it's going, and it's really quite bizarre to be standing in our boat and for one side of the windows in this area to be out. The view's pretty cool. So to give you an idea, that whole side of the window is out. We're very ventilated right now. So yeah, Jules is going to basically clean up that whole entire window and reseal it and put it in, hopefully back in today. What that's going to do for us is it's going to basically reseal the windows in this area because it was very evident that they were leaking. A lot of the areas on the bottom of the windows, you could see on the wood that there'd been quite a regular occurrence of water getting through. So resealing that is going to obviously protect the inside of the boat, and also for our own peace of mind knowing that that is done and that job is ticked off. The only windows we're not going to pull out in this area at the moment is going to be these back windows at the moment. Mainly because we've got the canvas up there, we never really get a lot of water ever hitting the back of these windows. And there's no evidence that they are actually leaking at the current time. And that's something we can do at a later date. So at the moment, just to save on time, I mean, we really want to have this boat in the water so we can start using it. So for us at the current time, These are the main priorities, the front, the sides. That's what we want to get done. So we've got some pretty exciting news. We've actually ordered and got a call this morning that our interior carpet, our lining for the boat, has actually arrived, which is really super exciting. I got left the task of actually deciding the color we were going with, and I really struggled with that because the initial color within this boat was like a cream. The hard thing is, in this boat, there's not many areas to show you. So I'm going to try and show you some areas to show you what the original lining was. So here is an area that hasn't really had much sun, and it's very much so like a beigey, creamy, natural color. And that's my son hitting the hull. And yeah, as much as I like that color and I'd like to restore it back to that color, I have decided that we're not going to go with that color. We're actually going to go with a color that is like a white with a fleck of gray through it, just to add a bit more lightness, especially to the bedrooms, because especially in this forward cabin that I'm in at the moment, as you'll see, it is just all carpet and it's very dark in this forward area. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, by picking a light lining, that'll add a bit more light into that forward area. We're not going to do the bedrooms just yet, but we've ordered enough material that we will be able to do them when we get around to it. The main priority for us at the current time, once we actually get to that stage where we're ready, is to start relining inside the saloon area and around the galley. So it's here, which is great, and that's really exciting. I'm super nervous that it may be too light, but I think the way we're going is probably the right direction, especially because we've painted quite a few of the walls white and a few of the actual fittings and fixtures. So I think it will work, and it will brighten up and it'll modernize the boat, which is what we really wanted to do. We don't want to take away from that Zeston 40 feel, but we definitely want to give it a bit more of a new, fresher look. A big problem that we have on this boat is actually all the hatches leak. Now they are original from when she was built, so it is a big expense, and we initially discussed about obviously the budget and what we were willing to pay and what were the main sort of priorities. And we looked at seeing if we could actually repair the current hatches we had, or even got something sort of similar. There was parts of the current hatches we had that we could get, but we'd have to sort of bodge them to make them actually work. So we bit the bullet. We've ordered new hatches, and they should be here in the next week or two, which is going to be great because ours, they all leak. And if we're going to be putting new lining in, what's the point putting new lining in if you're constantly going to be dealing with the battle that your boat's going to be leaking? Same with our windows. So we're getting our windows all resealed, and behind me, the windows still to go in. Jules at the moment is currently chasing after Rory while he lets me do some filming. And I'm just going to show you another reason why we're getting our hatches redone. If I just tilt you up. Now that, I'm hoping it comes out of the camera, but all of our windows have all got that sort of cracking, blemishing on all the actual screens. So, on all the actual sort of perspex. So it's not a real clear light that we're getting through them anyway. So because of that, I really think that it's going to benefit us. Not so much in the small little ones that have the same thing going on, but especially for this one room in here, which is technically going to be Rory's room, it's going to let a lot of more light. And one of the big sells that kind of pushed us in spending that extra money on new hatches is that with these new hatches, they come with fly screens, which is great. Because I can't tell you enough how much Jules hates flies. If we don't have fly screens on this boat, it will be stacked full of fly spray. So it's going to be great, and that's going to be a great addition to this boat. So I'm pretty excited. So we hope in the next few weeks we'll be able to show you them, and I'm hoping probably in about 3 weeks we'll be able to look to install them too. So stay tuned.
Oh. Good holding on, mate. Good tripping, mate. So, in the kitchen, this sink here used to sit on top of the bench top. So, had a little lip around the outside here. What I've done, if I pulled this out, I made a recess in the bench top. So, when the sink eventually goes in, the idea is that the sink height is the same height or slightly lower than the bench top, and that way when you're wiping the bench off, you can just wipe straight off into the sink. Just little things like that make life a lot easier. Fridge over here, or freezer I should say, we put a couple of hinges on. It used to be just a hatch with a handle in the middle and used to lift out, so we've now hinged that. Again, recess the hinges in so they're flat with the bench top, and not finished yet, but the idea is that folds up out of the way like so, just so you don't have to put it somewhere when you want to get into the fridge. This isn't finished yet because I've gone for flush hinges, so they're flat on the top. It means the pivot point for the door opening is down lower, so at the moment this only really lifts to there. The two back edges are binding or catching, so we'll eventually have to either make this gap through the back here bigger, or I'll probably just do a little radius off both surfaces, and that should then fix the problem and let it open all the way up. The laminates on this bench top had a few cracks in the corners here. You can see where I've done a couple of repairs. Basically ground the cracks out, filled it full of epoxy and a glue blend, another one there, and then sanded it all down flat. Not sure why it cracked. All the plywood and everything underneath was still in good nick, so whether it's been cracked when it's the laminates has been fitted maybe, I'm not too sure. We're going to go with a paint over the top of this laminates bench top. The other option would have been put new laminates down. Kirsty, did you find it? I found it. Someone we know has used it anyway, and basically it's a paint product and does sort of like an imitation granite bench top, and seems to be pretty hard wearing, so I guess we'll find out when we eventually get around to doing this. We're just holding off on finishing the bench top, hey buddy, until I've finished inside the boat and finished putting all my tools up onto this bench and knocking it about, because once it's done, if I scratch it, I think I'm going to get my ass kicked, so safety first. If you like the video, hit thumbs up and subscribe, and hit the bell to receive any notifications of upcoming episodes.